So after 27 chapters that we've had of Eden Zero, we have finally concluded the Gilst arc. And with some interest, I think if anything with this arc, now that we can kind of talk to it from like kind of post it has been the chapter, if anything, and all that has introduced the most new characters to the series. Obviously, being having with like what we've had with Sister in there, with what we've had with like Jin adding into it, like, a few of the villains as well. Like with everyone that we've had so far in the series, and with potentially what can go between forward. I will still say now that, like, if anything, Eden Zero is still finding its feet with where exactly it wants to do, and especially with how this chapter especially ends up, like, very bittersweet, I feel, at the very end, with, like, how it addressed with the entire Guilds thing, like, losing all of its time, and, like, where it was reverted back to. Like, it was a moment where it's, like, a giant tragedy, but then again, there was something kind of good coming out of it, where it's like, this was no means of the fact that this was a good thing that happened, but it just shows you an interesting factor of how especially life works this way. So we're going to be talking about this chapter right now and all that, as it is the last, like, escape plan. Everyone's just busting out as soon as they can and all that, just running around. Like Pino and like Rebecca are just there, like, waiting around, trying to be like, we need to actually, we're trying to like stay here and all that until we can give the signal for like everyone else, the Shiki and the others, to come back. Unfortunately though, like with everything that's happening because of the chronophage, is that it's affecting the like all the kind of the wildlife around there, and the plan, like the ecologically, like, it's just going completely bizarre with like all these trees bobbing out of nowhere, and this causes like Rebecca just like kind of lose her like sitting and everything, and it's like, what is going on? It's like the gravita's going like completely nuts right now. The planet's ether is like just all like counterflowing right now, and it's like it's going completely apeshit, and it causes Rebecca to actually fall down a hole where it's like, oh no, like she's going down right there. Shiki coming in like that, it's like, I've got you, giving her a big old hug, and it was like, oh well, thank you for trying to save me from right there. And it was like, and interesting where she's like kind of like being like, well, looks like you had to save me again, and it's like, don't worry, we're friends, right? And it's like, I feel like I hope that's gonna be something coming later on where it's like, if anything, where it's like, how about and all that, like, we give like something to Rebecca later on where it's like, no, give her a little bit more independency, like get her something that she can actually a little bit stride more forward to. And with anything, it's like how it's like talking about this stuff and all that, it's like, oh, look at that, and all these disgusting trees, they look alive, they're slithering and moving, get them out of there. And it's like, Rebecca's like, wait, who are these people? And, you know, why is like with these weirdos like right now? Like, what's going on right now? I'm kind of a little bit confused. And it's like, oh, we need to go right now. It's the Eden Zero. And it's like, oh, we've missed the ship. And it's like, wait a minute, we need to get out of the way right now. And it's like the trees are blocking down their movement to like even land. And it was like, all right, everyone, let's try and get in there. We just kind of like go in, like dance the leopard claw. Let's try and get this down. And it's like, interesting enough that with Sister, that she was able to immediately notice, like, she knows who that sword belonged to, or at least, if anything, her master. And it was like, because she didn't immediately react to her, and it was like, oh, so clearly we know what that sword is, and like what the whole business and deal, and that's going to be coming up pretty much soon. I feel like, if anything, that's going to be addressed in the next chapter or two, exactly her relationship, like, on there, and what she wants, especially with, like, with the Demon King, and especially with Shiki, like, with the two, like, what was her relationship with the previous Demon King, and Neo Weiss coming in there, like, pulling out pretty much a flamethrower. Like, she's pouring it out and burning everything to the ground, because that's what you need to do. Ah, wonderful new life. Let me set it on fire. Just grabbing it and just, like, roaring down. It's like, alright, we've got that, but unfortunately and all that, like, we can't land and all that, and we just, like, we need to hurry and all that. And it was like, Shiki's like, we'll be able to get there. We've got a little bit of an opening right now. And it's like, we need to land it. It's like, don't worry, leave the landing to me, as he grabs like Rebecca and he grabs everyone else. And it was like, Weiss, hold on to your girl right now, and like hold on to Sister. And it's like, we're gonna be flying to Eden Zero. It's like, he uses his gravity powers and just jumps and grabs all of them up to there. And it's like, huh, alright then, that's not a bad ability right now. It's like, get out of Gilst right now, like, go flying immediately. The second that we land, we're full thrusting right now, getting out there. And they talk about this where it's like, this part where it's like, this is the bittersweet like part of the chapter where they talk about the purification of Gilst, where it's like a planet being consumed by its lust, like money, and almost ironic that a disaster turns it into its most prosperous time and all that. And it's like, it a lot of, like, they even hint where it's like, this killed people, like this entire scenario was like enough to actually hurt and damage a lot of lives going around it here. but it took it back to its most harmonious like kind of part, where it's like you look back at the planet itself and it is like pure green, considering that it was very industrial, kind of like very like, I wouldn't say cyberpunk like esque, but it was like normally when you see a lot of cyberpunk kind of environments on there, like you see a lot of just grunge and shittiness, and like it was like very industrial and it just did not look good. And it's like we've returned this like to what it originally was like all these years ago, and I was like, oh, that's actually a little moment to it where it's like this tragic event cost a lot of people's lives, and some things that thinking about like what are the people that didn't actually was able to get out of this scenario, like out of this like entire crisis. But then you like got to think it's like, well, there was at least something out there, and it's like it's trying to teach you in a way where it's like life can have its good moment, like from a bad scenario it can have some good things from it as well. And it's like overall I feel like there was not too much to this chapter. Like all it really was escaping, where it's like maybe it could potentially set something up with Rebecca where she's like, I'm tired of kind of being, you know, like the damsel in distress kind of scenario, which I really don't want that to be and all that, because it's like it felt like a part of moments just like Shiki to ride in like kind of bombastically and all that. But if anything, I hope that hints a little bit more to maybe Rebecca's character and like change it, because again, like this could have been a new thing where it's like her ether gear could have actually saved her from this, and it was like an interesting showcase of what her powers could be. But so far, like nothing too much. And again, I feel like this chapter was like, it was definitely to wrap up this arc and give a little moment on there where it was again another little, which we've been mentioning a lot with the Zero, is that there's a lot of table setting going on around here. It's trying to set up a lot of characters going on, and I feel like that's more what this chapter was trying to do than anything. So it was trying to bridge and conclude this arc in a tiny way, and more stuff, more storylines and more like plot threads that are going on into the future. But I'm there to see what you guys thought about this chapter. Again, this was pretty much a short one for me, but again, like, not so much to really talk about with this chapter. I feel like, not overall too much to digest into chapter 27, but overall, I give this one, it was a fine chapter. I didn't, like, thought it was average. I just thought it was decent, but it was, like, overall, I felt like there could have been a little bit more meat to this chapter. It felt like it went by really quickly on that, but that's all for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys, though, next time.